ladies in the middle. Checks back against Carter and scores. That is atypical for the Amina Margot.
Quickly gets it back again. Oh, what a goal! Well, that sums up her season. The Gunners are WSL champions.
Welcome back, everybody, for another Vic Akers Wonderland podcast. My name is Matt Roberts, and I am joined by Adam. How are you?
Good evening, Matt. Yes. Well, it's not great, is it? It wasn't a great weekend for the Arsenal, sadly, for the Arsenal women. So it's been a bit of a downer to the start of the week. But I'm looking forward to hopefully picking apart the game with you, and maybe after that I'll feel a little bit better.
So, unfortunately, for those that are wondering why Lottie's not with us, she's not feeling 100%. So wish her well. Wish her that hopefully she recovers especially for the weekend, because I think there's going to be a lot of things happening around that game. Let's just say that. I think the best place to start is it was Beth Mead's 200th appearance for Arsenal. I think there's got to be memories that a lot of people have of her. Was there anything that you can think of, memories or special stories or anything that you can think of?
I mean, she's become such an integral part of the Arsenal. She arrived with us, I think it was in 2017, just before the spring series. I think one of the great sad things about me, well, many sad things we can say, one of these that most people have never seen her first goal for the club. She scored in a 10-0 demolition of Spurs in the FA Cup. No one's ever seen that goal, and no one ever will. I think that's rather sad. One of my favourite moments, scoring that goal against Chelsea at Emirates Stadium in that 3-2 win, one of Jonas' first games as Arsenal manager. Fans are finally back in. We got that goal, ran clean through and blasted past the keeper, and that roar towards the fans. I'll always sort of treasure that. Loved having Beth Mead at Arsenal. Favourite goal, I should also say, the rocket at Brighton that helped win us the league at the Emirates Stadium. Still remains one of my favourite Arsenal goals. So, lot of fond memories of Beth Mead, and I hope we get the chance to make a few more as the years progress.
So, I think my favourite story of her is actually fan interaction with her at the end of the season against West Ham. Needed to win the game and hopefully win the league. Unfortunately, at that time, Man United were winning against Chelsea at Kingsmeadow, and opportunity to win the league. We were 0-0 at half time. It gets to for half time. Steph Catley and Stephen Baksina score in the second half. We're waiting on the results, and unfortunately, Chelsea go and win their game 4-2. Means Arsenal don't quite get that chance to win that WSL that has been haunted around for many teams that aren't Chelsea over the last couple of years. But after that game, her mum and dad were in the side. They were having quite a bit of chatter. And slowly down, she comes down and get an opportunity to take a photo with her. And the best part is she took a photo of the roof of the stand just before we had our post for each other. So it's a bit of a fond memory for me. I've still got that photo. I might actually ask her one day to sign it if I get the chance. But for now, we should move on to the game itself. Arsenal 0, Everton 0. It's difficult to say where to start. I think we'll just lean into how Emily Fox, if I'm being honest, in that first half looked like she was going to be the one to open the scoring.
No, you're absolutely right, and this is probably the biggest concern. Well, I said biggest concern. There's going to be a lot of biggest concerns, so I should probably not use that the metaphor. This was the first half. I think one of the key standout things was that Emily Fox was our most threatening player. Says a lot about our forwards. Says a lot about the way the team was structured, the way the attacking move structured, that the closer we came to scoring was an Emily Fox cross that bounced off the crossbar. That's not a good sign. I featured a header that went over as well. There was a shot that went wide. So yeah, hats off to Emily Fox for offering a threat, but she's our fullback. She's not our forward. Russo, I mean, in that first, talk about the first half. Didn't see anything from Russo. Didn't see anything from Mead. Mariona, I think, had maybe one effort, but it was straight at the keeper. There was nowhere near enough threat. Now we knew Everton were going to be. Well, you thought they might play a bit. I had a feeling they were going to be quite structured and quite good defensively. But Arsenal did nothing to pry them apart. There was no pace. There was no energy. It was all very easy for Everton to deal with. Congesting the middle. Arsenal just ran into cul-de-sacs. Arsenal go wide, aimless crosses that Everton easily could deal with. And it was 45 minutes where nothing happened. I mean, to be honest, it was 90 minutes where nothing happened in the end, obviously. But I was watching it, I was thinking, no, this is wrong. But we tried to do the Frida-Russo partnership again, and I've said my piece on that. I don't think that's correct. I don't think that is the correct partnership to be using. I think there are other players that should be used, or other roles those players should be used in the team, but not that combination. However, Jonas wants to persist with the pair of them. I don't think it worked on the day. There was a moment. I mean, I am just reading off him, Matt. So I do apologise if I'm using up all your notes. But there was a moment that really highlighted for me in the first half. I remember watching it because I was where we were sat. Obviously, we were sat together. I was near the halfway line, where Russo picks up the ball in the middle of the Everton half and takes it back into our own half. She carries the ball forward. I think she's defending might get tackling, but she takes the ball from attacking position and takes it backwards into her own half, and that just highlighted the complete lack of cohesion, partnerships, passing relationship. Nobody seemed to know where everybody was, where everybody should be, where to find people, and it was really concerning because basically this was a repeat of the Leicester City performance, and this was despite the fact that there were some players came in and came out. Kim Little came in, Leah Volti stepped out. I think Mariona came in. This one, Caitlin Ford was put onto the bench. So they did shuffle some players around, but no joy, exactly as it was. And from an attacking perspective, very, very worrying at halftime.
And you mentioned it slightly, but from what we were seeing, shall we say, because there was a lot of us there that day, it felt like there was a failure to make the right runs at the right time, or making that connection or making the right decision in that final third. I think we could probably count up to about 10 times in that first half alone where we get into the final third, where the team gets into the final third or on the edge of the box and they're too busy passing sideways, backwards, trying to wait for that opportunity. And
there's a reason why the crowd kept shouting shoot, because nobody was taking the shot. It was just past it sort of became the old sort of horseshoe around the box passing. We'd have a player run into the channel, and then when we played Manchester City first game of the season, the first goal we scored was a Ford getting down, I think it was Ford getting down the channel and getting a cross in because the defence had pushed up. This time there was too many foot stop on the ball, look, pass, look, where's the player? Not knowing where the player, having to look for the player because they don't know where the player is. They don't know where the player is because they don't have the connections. And that's really worrying for players. Okay, we could maybe take Mariona out of this equation. She has only just arrived. But for the likes of Frida and Russo and Beth, they have played with each other for the last at least 2 seasons. They should know where to expect their strike partners to be, where their midfielders to be, where the forwards should be. And the fact that there was no cohesion. That's why with the crosses, for example, they weren't aimed at anyone. They were just slung in and just hope someone would be there. And that's why it's so easy for Everton. To defend, there was no intelligence. There was no thought about where I'm going to put the ball. It's okay, just cross the ball in and hopefully someone gets a head on it. And often they didn't, or often the cross didn't beat the first player. One twist I did like with the set pieces is they actually tried to cross it and didn't take them short. Unfortunately, the crosses weren't much better. And yeah, it was really. I mean, Everton obviously were playing in a way that Everton weren't going to come out and play. They were playing in a very, I think you could call it a mid-block, a very good defensive shape, a very competent defensive shape. That's the challenge for Arsenal. You know, they're not going to come and be free-flowing Chelsea, Manchester City. You know, this is the challenge for us. And we couldn't do it on the day. We couldn't find the players that we needed. We couldn't have the intelligence to move that Everton defence around, despite the fact that we've heard time after time, oh, this is stuff we've been working on. We've done stuff in pre-season. We've been working about how to pass, how to move, defend about. And then on the day, it was basically like last season all over again.
It is a bit odd as well. You've mentioned some key points there, and you thinking at this moment in time. So since pre-season, so which I believe was start of August, that we're now into start of October, so essentially 2 months, and some of these concerns are growing again. The fact that it's against a block of some sort that these issues are coming across. One thing that, let's be honest, when those crosses do go in, they're being headed away, because if you look at the height for height, you've got most of the Everton players are over 6 foot or near enough 6 foot, and so how Newcastle got their goal in the League Cup was a low cross across the blocks, and Demi Stokes, it just runs onto it and just hits it first time. Now, if you were to look back at that analysis and go, right, they seem to struggle with low crosses, because Newcastle kept doing it all game and they just couldn't deal with it, or they could deal with it because someone wasn't there in the last time, or they beat their attacker to the ball. If that was the case, this seems like a perfect opportunity to go, right, work on low crosses all through the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Low crosses, cutbacks even, didn't cut it behind the defence. This is what I mean. There was no intelligence. There was no pace, there was no speed. The touch was so slow, but the defence could easily get settled and crucially get the numbers in the box so they could block anything low. If you're going to get the low crossing, you need to take advantage of the fact that they're short of numbers. Otherwise, it's just going to ping pong around the defenders that have got set, and you'll get nowhere. And there was a lot of that. There was a lot of close-up blocks because Arsenal had shifted the defence about. Yeah, it did feel like that. I would say that Jonas didn't know what to expect from Everton, but he should know what to expect, because we had this same situation sort of when we played away at Everton last season, and that finished in a draw, and we struggled to break down Everton that day. And to be honest, I mean, I was there for the home game at the start of the year, the 2-1 win, and that was pretty grim as well. We managed to get scrape to win in that instance. So yeah, we know that this is a team that, I would say, take the Brighton game, opening game of the season aside, which was looks to be quite a freak sort of result, given the circumstances. We know how Everton are going to set up, and we know they're a tough unit to break down. And the way we played was the only thing I could compare it to is like trying to demolish the Great Wall of China with a toffee hammer. It was just never gonna happen. And the fact that there was no change, you didn't ever really realise, right, the way we're playing into Everton's hands. We're playing too central, so they're midfield free with the because they play a back three, don't they? Everton sort of back three, back five, so the wing backs.
It was really weird. I was expecting like a 4-5-1 sort of, and it wasn't. It seemed to be like a 5-4-1 instead, but it was very much like a hybrid, wasn't it?
The way they congested the centre with the numbers. And we just kept happily running into it. The amount of times like Kim Little was getting crowded out, or Kyra, Freedom's, but it was just like the strength is in wide, and because we didn't go wide quick enough, that the crosses ended up becoming pointless. And it went on and on and on. And you're thinking there's intelligence on this pitch, but nobody's exhibiting any of it, and it was really worrying to watch.
So moving away from the attack and looking at the defence, Daphne van Domselaar. I am going to probably be lectured about this by our Dutchies. I do apologise.
Just call her DVD, Matt, and it's easy.
DVD point two. Yeah, she comes into this game. I think we were all expecting her to start because it's an opportunity for her to impress, and she did impress again. This is the second time in a row that she's actually tipped a shot onto the bar or just over the bar, and there was a few moments of madness. The fact that she came out for the and she just about managed to get the ball in the first half.
There was. And then she dropped a cross, didn't she?
Yeah, she dropped the cross, but managed to get it on the after the bounce. But luckily, no one was following up. Were you impressed with how Daphne has come so far?
I expect her to start this game, to be honest, because my feeling is that Manu will start the Bayern Munich game. I thought this was another really good game to give her, and I thought she acquitted herself very well. It's another clean sheet, so that went very, very well. Great save to tip that shot onto the bar. I remember when I bet it was a 50-50 on the halfway line. I just had the sense watching, thinking, I think Everton, something might happen here, because we'd been drawn to that side of the pitch where we were sat, and Everton spotted that and they got that switch of play. Now I can't remember who it was who took the shot, but I think was it Sarri? I think it was who took the strike.
Might have been, yes.
And it's a top save from Daphne onto the crossbar, and I think the corner we actually had to hack off the line. I think it was McCabe was on the post, and she hacked it clear. There was a really good moment I liked when there was a long ball. I think it was a free kick being punted forward, and it was just in that zone of I call it like a zone of unknown, if that makes sense. As the forward was running onto it, and Daphne was quick off her line to take the ball past the forward into out of the penalty area, and looked completely at ease with what was going on. Brought it forward and cleared the danger. There was no panic or as I've seen other keepers do in those situations, miscontrol it and suddenly it looking very silly. I thought Dee did very well. That being said, and this is sort of more so the second half, but certainly after that strike that hit the bar, Everton didn't really offer a threat, but they didn't need to. So, which is the thing, they had probably the best chance of the half, and it was theirs. But after that, and certainly as the second half progressed, I think Everton realised we can hold them here. We don't need to search for a goal. That's it. They were comfortable. Everton realised in their shape they were comfortable in the game, saying we can sit here. We know our shape. We know Arsenal can't break us down. They're not doing anything different. So if nothing changes, we're going to get a 0-0 draw, and we'll get a very good point. It'll be our first point of the season. It'll be a clean sheet as well. To say that up until this game, they'd lost every single time they'd been to Arsenal. So this was in the WSL, I should add. So that's another incentive to think, well, if we just get a point, that's another box tick. That's a record changed. And I think, yes, DVD did well in goal, certainly in the first half. Made sure that we didn't, get mugged because we were dominating the game, if not doing anything with it. But after that, I think to be fair, second half you could have probably subbed her off and thrown another forward on, and it wouldn't have made any difference. But yeah, I think fair play to DVD. I think next will probably be the Valerenga home game, which is next week after the Chelsea game. That's when I expect we'll see her next play.
Yeah, you have mentioned about the subs as well. I think a lot of us were scratching our heads for some of these subs. The one I've got 3 of them down as questionable, and that's Leah Volti coming on for Kyra.
How dare you?
That's
you're a Leah Volti fan.
That's nothing against Leah and Kyra. It's the fact that you're looking at this defensively and going, you need a goal here, and you're bringing on a defensive midfielder for a defensive midfielder. You would have thought, that would. Then you've got Caitlin Ford coming on as a right back for Katie McCabe, and Leah Williamson coming on for Lottie Wibben-Moy. It's 3 questionable subs. I think the only one that I haven't put down is the Steph Catley one for I believe it was Emily Fox.
That's only McCabe.
Sorry, Casey. Oh
yeah. So Ford came on for Fox.
Sorry, Fox came on for Steph Catley came on for Fox. I believe. The only reason I haven't done that one is because it was I think you knew it was that one was gonna happen.
Yeah. So there was So I'd have made 5 subs. To be fair, I think he could have subbed more if he had if he was allowed to, or certainly it warranted it. Now Russo off, Stina on, I thought that was the right move because I thought the game just passed Russo by, which was really disappointing. And I thought, great, you can bring back in the Frida-Stina partnership, which we know works. It's been tried and tested, so that fine, that made sense. Now Caitlin Ford coming on at right back because against Leicester City she came on at left back, and that was to give Katie McCabe a rest. Well, she was moved to left back, I should say, not subbed on. She was moved. On this game, it was Fox because Fox has been playing to the ground because Veenrot is injured. So Fox came off. Caitlin Ford came on at right back. Now, I didn't like not substitution, but the shuffle at Leicester City to put forward to left back. I don't think it worked. And also because Leicester City got a lot of joy. There was a few really good chances they got in that position because Ford wasn't tracking back. We basically had a giant hole in our defence, and we were lucky that DVD made some really good saves. It worked. It actually worked this time around for Akers. I think she was on the right, which I think helped her. And also, it was like the old Wenger, I'm going to take a fullback on and throw a striker on. It was a move that was more offensive-minded than he wasn't trying to make Ford play at right back. He was basically throwing on an extra winger, but for a right back. So it was a kind of a change in shape rather than a change in personnel. And it also helped that the fact that Everton, as I said earlier, weren't attacking the second half because they were comfortable in the way they were set defensively, and they knew that there was no point. The only way the shape would sort of undo itself is if they all steamed forward trying to get a goal. They just said, no, we'll stay where we are and we'll hold out for this. So I understand bringing Ford on that instance because it gives you an extra number in attack, and hopefully by outnumbering the numbers that Everton have in their defensive shape, you might get a bit of joy. So that was fine. I got that, and that was actually when it happened in the Leicester City game. That's what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't, and obviously it went a bit wrong, or nearly went wrong there. The other sub I think at that time was Leah Williamson on for Lotte Ruben-Moy. Now I get that. But I also disagree with it, and which I'll get to. And then the subs, the two afterwards was the Velti Bikuni cross and the cat leaf from the cave. Now, the big red alarm, certainly for me, big red alert alarm in the crowds and talk to people after the game and during the game is that Rosa Kafati was left on the bench.
Yeah,
and that
we're going to talk about that later.
But that is tied in with these substitutions because, as you said, he brought on Leah Williamson, Steph Catley, and Leah Velti, which are 3 defensive-minded players. But you're struggling to break down a low block, but you're changing your defensive players. You swapped your left back, your centre back, and your defensive midfielder. Now, if he were to have said taken Katie McCabe off and put Rosa Kafati on and basically try to get another forward into the attack at the cost of your fullbacks because you're not being challenged defensively, then I could have got behind that. We don't know obviously if bringing Rosa Kafati on would have made a difference, but we know that by not bringing her on, we ended up in the situation we are now, which is a 0-0 draw. And Rosa was signed specifically because she has that chaos, she has that maverick capacity in the attack that can unsettle defences. And I look at the Manchester City game with 2-1 down. Rosa comes on. What does she do? She's passing forward. She's shooting forward. She's driving forward. She bursts into the Manchester City box. She's looking to take a shot. And in the chaos, Bethany gets the equaliser. And that's what we needed on the day. And he never went to his, for lack of a better word, armoury and brought her off the bench. He instead brought on Leah Williamson, which is a like for like, So the reason he brought Leah Williamson on was because Jonas explained afterwards he wanted to give some of those players game time because Williamson and Catley have always been injured, but we're going to need them for the Bayern Munich and the Chelsea games, and he wanted to try and maybe give some of the players who've been playing quite a lot of minutes, Lotte and Katie as well, give them some minutes off, which I understand. But that's the substitution you make when you're 3-0 up and the game is safe. That is not the substitution you make when you're 0-0 and you need a goal, because if you win this game, with Chelsea not playing, there's a chance that you can go top of the league. And you can't afford to drop points, as Jonas should know after what happened last season. You can't drop stupid points to teams that you're winning in this instance. So you have to go for it. You have to be front-footed. But the fact that he I think stuck with the subs he had planned for the game rather than the subs that the game at the time needed, for me was a really bad tactical error on his behalf. And I think the moment that happened, the game was sealed. I mean, I'm saying like Leah Velti is a she's a very good midfielder, and Little and Velti have worked together well with a double pivot. But again, you could argue, could you have sacrificed a double pivot and put another forward? Did it need to have two deep midfielders when there's nothing coming your way? You could have maybe afford to throw on, Kafaji and moved her into 10 or moved. There were more forwards we could have put on. Like Katrina Molakul was left on the bench. She didn't come on either. That's another midfielder who could have maybe offered a more attacking threat. The fact that Jonas didn't gamble and go for it, for me, was really disappointing, because I think he could have afforded to against Everton. If he gambled and then Everton had sucker punched us on the counter, okay, fair enough. But the fact that he wasn't that as committed as he should have been to going for that win, that's, for me, was really disappointing.
Just to highlight this sort of game, it's one of those where a lot of the fans were sort of questioning at the end of it. Why wasn't Rosa involved at any point? You mentioned about Man City. I mean, effectively, you don't shoot, you don't score. That's how it is. And I think that was the real question. Why wasn't Rosa not on that pitch by the time it hit 90? Because it needed that. It didn't feel like a Caitlin Ford sort of game. It didn't feel like it was going to be a Beth Mead sort of game. It just felt very scrappy. And people were also pointing to someone like Victoria Pelova, who obviously out with an ACL. That's the sort of game where she thrives on. You look at some players in the past where we've gone to Everton, for example. I think it was a couple of years ago where we clinched Champions League football over Man United.
Katie McKay with a late goal, just pulled a goal out and they were cut inside.
There was one where Kim Little scored a penalty last minute.
Oh, sorry, yes. Yeah, 2-1 last minute, yeah. And that was the one where we got into third place. It's those sort of games where you look to people and go, where you got to make something happen here, and that moment seems to pass as soon as that fifth sub come on. And not to, it is a worry, especially when you go into what's going to happen tomorrow against Bayern and potentially, and what's also going to probably happen at the weekend against Chelsea. If that performance happens again, is it a worry? If that side turn up against at the Emirates, is that a worry for you? Well, no, because yes and no. Obviously, it's a worry, but the difference being is that Bayern Munich. Well, I'd expect Bayern Munich. I'd be surprised if it was anything else. But Bayern Munich and Chelsea are going to come after us. They are going to play. I'm not saying Everton didn't play to win, but Chelsea and Bayern Munich are going to come out front-footed and are going to look to play. And by playing, they will open up space that we know that Arsenal and Jonas can exploit, because we've seen them do it against Chelsea in cup finals at Emirates Stadium. When we lost when we played Bayern Munich away, we did lose 1-0, but in that second half, I think there was, Jonas referenced it in his press conference. He talked about last time we played them in that second half, we played rather well. And of course, in the second leg, we won 2-0, which got us through to the next round. So the Bayern games and the Chelsea games, for me, I'm not worried about, because if they'll give us the space. The problem is that this Jonas team under this Arsenal team under Jonas, they can't create space. They cannot. They have to wait for the team to open up for them in order to play the game, and that's how it's become. If a team comes up and they want to be adventurous and play out from the back and passing and be open entertaining, then great, we're in. But if a team says no, we're gonna batten down the hatches, we're going to be a low block, we're going to be a mid block, Arsenal can't do it. They cannot make space. And if you can't do that, if you can't break down the basic defence, you've got no chance. So I'm Bayern and Chelsea. If we lose to them, they're great teams. It happens. Bayern are the Bundesliga champions. Chelsea are the WSL champions, unfortunately. If we lose to them, we lose to them because they're a great team. Okay, fine. It will hurt, but fine. But the next two games after that, Bellerenga at home and West Ham away. Now, those are the two games I'm concerned about. Bellerenga, I think we should at least have enough quality to get a result. If we don't get a result at home to Vålerenga, then that's our Champions League group in jeopardy. But West Ham away, I mean, it's our track record in the last 2 seasons there speaks for itself, and that is the game where if we go there and it's another Everton performance, we're not going to get anything. We're not going to score a goal. We're going to pass the ball around, slow and ponderous. The West Ham defence will go low block, we should say, and they'll put 5 players, 10 players behind the ball, and they'll come and break us down, and we won't be able to. We won't be able to. We don't have to say the way that the team is set up. There is no intelligence. There's no movement. There's no runs to move the players about. It is all very easy, very in front of them, and unless something changes, that's what will happen. We'll go to West Ham away and we won't win a game, and there'll be more points dropped. And we should say on topic of points dropped, we're now looking, well, we've only had 1 win and 2 draws, so it's 4 points dropped already, first 3 games. Last season, I think we dropped 5 points after 3 games. So really, we're only 1 point better off. But were it not for CJ Bott undercooking a back pass away at City, we're looking at 3 straight draws, 6 points dropped. We know that there was until last season a 3-loss rule. So that's 9 points dropped. So already you're looking at 2/3 of the way towards being out of the title race, 3 games into the season. That's how fine the margins are. And we should also, the fact of this doesn't come out of the blue. I mean, even taking into account the fact that, well, disregarding, should we say, the previous seasons when we know it's happened, even this season, I want to get this right, Rosenborg. Yeah, we won 1-0. Why? Goalkeeping error. Manchester City at home, we got a draw because of a refereeing error, although you could argue there was also a refereeing error the other way around, but there was a refereeing error that meant that we got an equaliser. Taken away, we lost, very similar to this. Leicester City, why do we win? Defensive error by them. Yeah, we've had a lot of luck, and also say the Häcken home game, it was 0-0 and looked ropey until Velke pulled a screamer out from like 30 yards past the keeper. Once we get the first goal in, we're laughing. We're fine. We can roll. We can get the game opens up. We can play our game, and everything's fine. But in the Häcken home game, for example, before then, it wasn't looking too sharp, too intelligent. And in fact, Häcken had some chances. They should have scored to probably take the game beyond us. I wrote about this in my piece, and the worst thing I can say about the result is it's not a shock, and it should be a shock. This should be one of these Claxon, oh, what a shock. Everton have got a point at Arsenal, considering were they on the table with their ACLs, which obviously a shame, and I hope they make a full recovery. But it's not a shock. It's just like, this happens. This happens now. This is what Arsenal do, is they will beat the big teams and then they will drop points. This has become normality, it's become routine, and that's really worrying for a team that is supposedly challenging for the WSL. And for me, that comes on to look at what the manager's doing. It's his 4th season now in charge. And I said, if he'd been just starting out at Arsenal and he wasn't fully familiar with the team and the league, fair enough, you'll learn. This is his 4th season now. He should have learned. This team shouldn't be doing this still. And that, for me, is really worrying.
It is. I just want to point to a couple of Everton players that really stood out, and that was Claire Wheeler and Hayashi in the midfield. That was really good business from Everton to get her, because that was one player that you never know where she's going to go, but you think she's going to go higher up in the league. Goes to Everton, and she's the smallest player on the pitch. Let's put it that way, and she's clearing headers away because no one actually is going in and challenging for that ball. And it was so bizarre, but essentially it's like me going and winning headers against Adam. Adam is about your 6 foot.
I'm about 6'2". Call me 6'2".
6'2". That's right. I'm about 5'5". So just to put that into perspective, that's basically Adam just running, not really being aware, and I've just gone and headed the ball away.
Yeah,
that's
proactivity. You've been proactive. You have been coached in this, in this situation. You would have been coached by Brian Sorensen. I think he talked a lot about how they monitored some of the tapes of the BK Häcken first leg that Arsenal lost and how to set up defensively. So you get your shape right, get your players in positions. You know that when the cross is coming in, you know whose player's response it is to head that away, and it's the fact that the crosses are not aimed at anyone, as in there's no thought behind them, shall we say? It's just a punt into the box. Then it's very easy for the defence to go, okay, that's my one, I'll head clear, and it just happens time and time again. And yeah, it was easy for them, and they made look easy. They were really well drilled defensively, Everton, and hats off to them. It's a very, very good performance. I mean, I was shout out to Courtney Brosnan, who made, I think she got player of the match by the end of it. She made a lot of good saves. I would say that at the same time, a lot of them were straight at her as well. But there was a really good one. I think she was freed as she tipped the shot wide. But she was alert. She made the save. She claimed when she needed to. Time wasted when she needed to, which was very good. And the worst thing, I said the worst thing, I've said this too many times, but the moment that sealed it for me, and again, it's something I wrote about, but it's something I've done too many times at these games now. And you'll know about this, Matt, because she was sat next to me for one of them. I think it was at home to Liverpool, I did it. Away at Spurs when I was sat next to you.
Yeah.
And then when away at West Ham, where I turned, and well, Spurs away, I turned to you about midway through the second half. It might have been about 60 minutes. I said to you, we're not going to score. I said we're not going to score today. And this was, and for me, I know West Ham obviously we scored in the first half, but this was about we'd gone 2-1 down and we weren't going to get that equaliser. And at 78 minutes, I turned to Mark, who was with us as well, and I said to him, we're not going to score. I had no confidence of this. I could have said it earlier, but that was the only reason I didn't say it is because out of hope, because I thought surely, but no, I knew we were going to score. And the fact that I knew, and in 12 minutes plus, I think it was about 4 minutes of injury time, nothing changed. I mean, Caitlin Ford almost made me eat my words right at the end. She almost did. It was a really good volley. But that was the only way we were going to score. If somebody pulled a worldie out of nowhere, and I think back to the Aston Villa game at home last season when we were terrible. And the only reason we won that game is because Katie McCabe scores a rocket from a tight angle and it flips the game, and suddenly Arsenal kick into gear and they managed to get a second one with the help of Daphne having sandpaper for gloves on that particular day, sadly. But no, I had no confidence that we were going to score, unless I was saying to Mark, unless it was a defensive mistake, let's say like a undercooked back pass, or a worldie like Caitlin Ford nearly did it. I think, was it tipped onto the bar or was it straight onto the bar? I can't remember.
I just put down that she hits the bar. I think she's gone to get something on it, but I think she can't.
If Brosnan gets that, I mean, Brosnan obviously made those saves, midweek in the shootout. If she's tipped onto the bar, it's a brilliant save. But even so, that was the only way we looked like we were going to score. I had no confidence. Russo didn't like she was going to score. Stina came on. I mean, it made us look a bit better. She was occupying the centre back. You could see immediately with Stina in the centre back, all of a sudden they were being pushed back towards their own goal. And so with a bit more play, but it became very panicked and very frantic. And I can understand being panicking, because suddenly you realise only 4 minutes of injury time to save yourself, and it's still 0-0. I can understand them panicking, but you can't panic. You have to be calm. And it became clear. I knew with over 10 minutes to go that we weren't going to score, and sadly my fears were proved to be true.
I'll just go over the shots stat. So we had over 20 shots in total, 9 in the first half, 12 in the second, 6 in the first half were off, 2 in the second half. That was 4. That was 2 shots on target in the first half and 3 in the second. That is the worry.
I'm just trying to think of what those shots would have been, and that's the thing. Because this is the thing: how many moments can you actually remember off the top of your head? Like moments you thought, "Oh wow, we really cut them open there. We were close to scoring." What moments you thought, not worldies, but just like moments where we thought some really good passing movement, really had the defence on the edge, and if we just got that pass right, there's nothing, is there?
I think there was a couple of times where Kim was on we kept on passing it, and we were in the box, kept on passing it backwards and forwards. Kim was about to shoot, and then the ball's taken off her foot.
There was a moment that was on the edge of their D, and I think it was Mead. I think Kim was around there as well, and they were passing it. I was thinking, someone have a swing at it. And it was like, no, I must pass someone better. And I don't know if that's a confidence thing. Because it goes on so long, you start to be concerned that you need to make sure you find that person who is definitely going to score. rather than confidence that, I'll have a swing at it. The person who's having the most shots, I think, was Frida. She was the one who's actually trying to have a go. Unfortunately, most of them were straight out Brosnan. There was a lack of conviction in those moments. So where they just kept passing around as at the edge of the D. And for Everton, they're happy with that. So you pass around the edge of the D, we'll happily sit tight here and block off the channels. As I said before, it was so. The lack of intelligence, as I said again, to not know where the spaces were, to keep doing the same things again and again, and the fact that again we've seen this film before, haven't we? Too many times under Jonas this has happened.
So then I think we'll move on now to the press conference earlier today. It was a interesting one for a number of reasons. Leo Volti being the player that was picked. There was a couple of questions about that, why Leo was picked, and there's some consistency and things like that. But it was quite nice to see that a lot of the players, they're coming out and they're speaking and they're being very honest in their words. When Manu did it last time around, she was very honest about the goalkeeping situation, and Daphne being her understudy for the moment. And I think that when you look at the team speak well, but is there the case that you go back to some of these games and you can speak well, but you've got to make sure you do everything?
No, there's a it's just the team or the manager, should I say? Sorry, it's the
players. The players when they're talking.
It's very easy to be wise after the event, isn't it? It's very easy to say, yes, we didn't play well. We know what we should do better. And think, would it be ideal if you knew that before? And yes, I can understand them saying that. Yes, well, yeah, we didn't play well on the day. We let the fans down. We'll get it right. But again, we had this up before. I think it was Leah who said, and I think it was Arthur who was saying, "Oh, we'll be fired up for Bayern Munich now. Want to get this right." I'm thinking you should already be fired up. It shouldn't take a 0-0 draw against Everton to have you fired. I know what she's trying to say, that we'll bounce back and get this right. And I was sort of thinking about this earlier today, and someone raised this really good point. I was following some of the other post-match media. And it was the idea that when we had the run to the semi-finals in the Champions League, and they were saying about how we'd had a lot of hardship, but it seemed to make the team stronger. And you had that whole thing about togetherness. That really good behind-the-scenes documentary showing what was happening while Arsenal were suffering with the ACL crisis. The injuries were piling up, but we were winning. We won the League Cup. We were going deep into the Champions League, and it was all about the togetherness. And the team were united, and they were doing it for their fellow teammates who were injured. And I think that's really good. But that should just go away when they become, fit and back in the team again. That should still be there. It shouldn't take 4 players or 3 or 4 players with ACL injuries to feel inspired to play well, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously I can get it as an inspiration, but you should be playing well anyway, because you are a brilliant footballer who's playing for the Arsenal. And the fact that if that's gone, that's really worrying. You shouldn't need inspiration to play well, to play for whether it be Chelsea or against Bayern or against Everton. You should have that already, and if they haven't got that, then that is of a concern. And I was to say on the manager's front as well, in the press conference before the Everton game, he had a really good line where he's like, "I'm the uncomfortable one," because he was asked a lot about the Chelsea game being cancelled that weekend against Manchester United. And he had a lot of thoughts about the scheduling, and he was quite critical of the WSL, I think by extension with WPLL, about the way they'd handled it, the way that the scheduling hadn't been probably talked about and sorted out, and the fact that the game being postponed this late on and how it affects the fans. And I always feel with these press conferences, Jonas talks very well, and I think when he talks about trying to talk about what's wrong with the game and what needs to be done to improve it, I think he speaks very, very well. But it's one thing talking well on the pitch, but you've got to do your talking. Yeah, it's one thing you're doing a good talking off the pitch, but you've got to do talking on the pitch. It's all well and good saying, come up with these great lines about I'm in the comfortable one and we need to be doing this and we need to improve the game. But your job is the manager of a football team that has to win matches on the football pitch. That's what you're going to be judged on, not your sound bites at press conference. I think in his press conference he comes to us very well, and I agree with what he says. but I also want my team to win at the weekend against Everton. That to me matters more, and that didn't happen. And I think there is an element to blame, and I'll be fair, it's probably an element to blame on both sides. I think, I never think it's solely one person's responsibility to be blamed for this. I think the players have to do better. I think the players know they have to do better. I mean, I think they've made their thoughts quite clear. I think Jonas made his thoughts quite clear as well in the press conference. He knows that was a step back. The problem is that's now 2 steps back we've had after the Beaky Hacken first leg, and I'm worried how many more step backs can we afford this season.
Just on this conference, because there was a lot of talking about a bit of everything about Bayern, like the fact that this is going to be a test. This is this is a totally different Bayern to the one that we played a couple of years ago in that quarterfinals, where we did win, as we mentioned earlier, but the team went on and won 2-0 at the Emirates after a 1-0 away loss at the Allianz, which we were both at as well.
Yes.
It's going to be a game that is totally different. Jonas has mentioned about Bayern being set piece specialist and being very well drilled and organised as a team. From what we saw last time around, I'm pretty sure some of that has changed. I think when Bayern scored their goal, it wasn't from a set piece. I think it was from...
It was a cross. It was a cross whipped in. I think I want to say, was it Shirley who scored? I don't know, but they did score. I think it might have been Vienroyd that got out jumped. But they did. It was a cross in. I think it was just before half time, and it was a bit of a sickener. But in that second half, as I said, we looked okay in that game, and we're a bit unlucky not to get the equaliser. But I'm expecting a bigger challenge. And Jonas touched on the fact in the press conference, well, last time we did the group stage, we opened away at Lyon and we won 5-1, and it was all great. And it was great. But obviously what people don't mention as much is that Lyon were going through a really bad injury crisis. They weren't playing their strongest team at the time. They didn't have the players to do so. One wonders if they were full strength, would that have been different? Now, Arsenal going away to Bayern Munich, I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a great game. I am disappointed it's not at the Allianz Arena. It's going to be at the Bayern campus instead. And we should say shout out to the Arsenal fans because they have sold out the away allocation, which is absolutely brilliant. I'm proud of that, given the short notice. But our track record is in these opening games, because the way the seeding works and the fixtures work, we end up getting the big team away first. So we had Bayern Munich, Barcelona away, and we lost 4-1. Then we had Lyon away, and we won 5-1. I wouldn't be surprised if we won away in Bayern Munich, not because of how we play and the way that Bayern are going to want to win on their own home ground. It should play to our advantage. And if we did win, does Jonas deserve praise? Does he go, okay, fair enough, the ball clearly does work? People will probably say that, and we'll go, okay, fair enough, maybe the Everton was a one-off. But the thing is, Everton is not a one-off because we know it keeps happening. So I'm excited for the Bayern game. I'm excited for the Chelsea game. I hope we can get some wins off them, and hopefully give our season a bit of zest. But my eye is further on. My eye is on the games after that.
Just to point to Bayern Munich, because it was Clara Ball that scored the only goal of the game at the weekend against Cologne. That actually puts them. I'm just going to quickly look at the table.
They must be top of the.
They are indeed top of the league. 5 wins out of 5 as well. So they've got a huge momentum as well, and I think that's a big worry for me, is that Bayern are going in essentially with the feel of, I wouldn't say it's total arrogance, but it's well-deserved arrogance where they can say
warranted,
that.
Yes. Well, their manager actually said that Arsenal were the favourites to get out the group. Now, I'm honoured that he think. I know, I'm honoured that the manager thinks that we are good enough to be top of the group. Recent evidence would suggest otherwise. I can't wait for this one. I can't wait to see how, because this is what the Champions League is about. Because last season we missed out on this. You don't want to play like minnows in your group. You want to have the big hitters, and this is a big hitter. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this team stacks up. And I think what the key thing is you're saying Bayern are a different animal to last time. The only thing we can compare ourselves to Bayern with is that quarterfinal from 2 seasons ago, which was a great contest. If Bayern have improved massively, then I'm expecting Bayern to win. If we win, then suddenly everything potentially gets reassessed. I don't think it should be, but there is a potential that everyone will get reassessed. So I'm really excited to see how it lines up. And we should say, obviously, for Manu Zinsberger, this is a return to a former club as well. So I do hope she gets some game time in this one. I think it should be pretty good. And also keep a lookout for Georgia Stanway, our lioness, who has gone over to Bayern Munich. It should be a good one.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how you think the team's going to line up. I think you've mentioned, I think we're all expecting Manu to be in goal, aren't we? We're not expecting Daphne to be in goal for the Champions League game just yet.
No,
I think that'll probably come further down the line.
Yeah, so I think Manu being goal. The only question is he played Williamson in the game against Everton, whether then he deems her okay, the concussion protocol's passed, whether he says, right, okay, I'm going to start with Leah Williamson in Germany. Now, I like the Leah Williamson Lycadina partnership we had during those qualifiers. It looked okay, but of course Bayern is a completely different beast. Left back, you might go Steph Catley, because Katie McCabe's just played so many games. But I fear that Emily Fox will have to play at right back, and we paid her a lot. I think she, that's unless he plays Caitlin Ford at right back. Now that would be a real a real left. Well, I'll say left field solution, right field solution more like. But I think it'd be Fox at right back. I think he might go Catley at left back, just for the rotation reasons. Now, what I'll be curious about is how brave he'll be and whether he will go, I'm going to stick with Cara Cooney-Cross in the midfield. I think she's had good moments in that midfield. She was player of the match at the weekend, which I say as well, for the supporters player of the match. But is he going to start her away at Bayern Munich, or will he go experience, familiarity, go Leah Velti and Kim Little? He's been notable that he has sort of used Cara Cooney-Cross as a means to rest the pair of them, sort of alternatively. I think he'll go experience. I think he'll go Kim Little and Leah Velti for this, because it's such a big game. He will bank on those two. They know each other. That's my safety. And then maybe, well, I say it's Chelsea the weekend, but maybe he'll go for Cara against Chelsea. And then the front three, I know what I'd want as my front three. Or front four, should I say? And that's Mario on the left, Beth Mead right, and Frida behind Stina Blackstenius. But knowing Jonas, he'll start Alessia Russo. And I like Russo as a great striker, but I don't think she is compatible with Frida Monum. I don't think she's compatible. But he will probably play the two together. If he was feeling ambitious, if I was going to start Russo, I'd like to see Rosa Kafaji playing the 10. But I just don't think she's played enough, and I don't think she is fully integrated in the team, because to play the 10 role, and really Frida's more of an advanced 8 than a 10, but to play the 10 role, you have to know every player, where they're going to be in every situation, to know where to play that pass without even thinking. You don't look to see where the player is. You know where the player is already before you've got to the ball, so you can make the pass to keep the momentum going. Look at the men's team. That's why a player like Martin Odegaard is so good with some of his passes and the way he's able to find the players. And Ozil was good for that for us as well, but through the years. So that's what Rosa Kafaji needs to be. He played her away at BK Häcken. If he played Alessia Russo and Rosa Kafaji, I'd be excited. I don't know if it would work, but I would be excited. But I think going for safety and experience, I think it will be a Stina Frida front two.
So I think I will go with Manu in goal. I think we'll see Steph Catley to return at left back. I think I'm going to agree with you with the Leah Williamson and Leah Kodner centre as centre halves. They're a very good team. Nothing against Lost Wolverhampton. It's a bit of a safe pair. Them two had quite a lot of minutes last year. And on the right, unfortunately, I think you're right, and I think it's going to be Emily Fox. But then again, if he wants to rest Emily Fox for the Chelsea game, Kate McCabe at right back. So I might say...
Actually, you've raised a good point. Katie McCabe at right back against Lauren James against Chelsea. So, for the Chelsea game, McCabe at right back, he's played her there before against Lauren James, and it worked a treat last season. So that's something to think about, maybe.
No, you've thrown me a curveball there, quite literally.
Yeah, I know.
No, I'll go Katie McCabe for this one because Bayern have Leah Schur, they have Clara Ball, they have some really exciting talent on that wing, and how better than someone that actually plays on that all down that side to be able to be I wouldn't say disciplined because of a track record, but as disciplined as you can to be able to snuff out any danger. I think I agree with you with the double pivot of Leah Volti and Kim Little. Again, this is nothing against uh, Kyra, or it's more about getting the experience rules. It's a bit similar to the game against Hacken where I said Kyra's not going to play. It's going to be the double pivot, and that's what happened in that home game. The attacking midfield, I think I would like to see Mariona play there. And the reason why is I think at the moment when I was seeing her against Everton, she kept on coming inside because she didn't know what else to do. And I think if she's actually able to see everything, I think that would probably help her out a little bit more and make her pick those passes instead of being that player that keeps on coming in to cross it, because Bayern have fantastic defenders in Mia Eriksson as well. I'm trying to think. I can't remember their goalkeeper.
Mia
No,
Eriksson or Magla Eriksson?
Magda Eriksson, Mia Eriksson's the journalist. Oh
Journalist,
God,
yes. I was going to say, well, I don't, wasn't aware of that change of career. Magla Eriksson, yes. Well,
I think that's high praise. I think she'll take that with a pinch of salt, but she'll be happy that she'll be playing for Bayern if that was the case. Of course, there's also George Sandwich that would be defensively disciplined as well, so that's one to think about as well. On the wings, I think it's going to have Beth Mead, and I think I'll go with Beth on the left to start, and then Caitlin Ford on the right, just for something a bit different. And
you had to get quick that. Did you know if you noticed that at the weekend? They flip wings. They do that a lot actually. Beth and Ford have noticed them. You can tell when Arsenal are struggling because you're suddenly seeing the wings. It's the most like basic of like tactical switches. I know what will fox them. We'll invert our wingers. They'll never see that coming. And what happens? Nothing.
I think it would just because they'll swap, but it used to cause a lot of chaos. Now it just sort of is.
Yeah, they don't do anything with it. Yeah.
I think who would best suits this sort of game, and I think it's a game where you call Stina up to start, and I think that will be the starting 11. I don't. Yeah, let's go for scores. I'm gonna be. I don't know. After what we've seen against Everton, I think it's going to be a close game again. But I'll go 2-1 Bayern Munich.
I can't see us keeping clean sheet. But I think there is enough. I think one thing we've said about these, Leicester City and Everton's poor performances is we were able to keep the back door shut just in the case of Leicester City. So we were able to get a clean sheet. In fact, I think we've done pretty well defensively, I'd say. The 2 goals we conceded against Manchester City were, bad luck and a worldie. We haven't really been seriously. I think the only time we've really been cut open badly was the Häcken goal on the counter away from home. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. And I think if you get a 1-1 draw away at Bayern Munich, I think you can pat yourselves on the back and say, that's a good result. Come back to London and plan for Chelsea. If you get a win, if you get a 5-1 like Leon, I'll be laughing, but I can't see that happening this time around. So a 1-1 draw, a very well fought contest, and we'll move on to the next game.
So that is all for us on Vic Akers Wonderland. You can follow us at VAW Pod. You can also follow Lottie at Lottie_AWFC. You can also follow me at MattLR28. Where can the lovely people find you, Adam?
You can find me at Adam_Salter4 on Twitter /X, Threads, and Instagram.
that is all for us. Wherever you are, hope you're having a lovely time, whatever you're doing. And don't forget, come on, you Gunners.